Hello and welcome to the Amateur Austenite. My name is Frances Duncan. I am an author and the founder of the Jane Austen Society of New Zealand. My very special guest with me today is my friend Sian.
Hello.
And today we're going to be discussing chapter 58 of Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. In chapter 58, Lizzie and Darcy go for a walk and he proposes. It's a good one.
It's a lovely one. We talked about the word tease with a Z last chapter. Do you remember? We talked about the spellings.
And you were going to look it up.
I did. Now, I can't find the reference that I did find, but certainly in English language, tease can be spelt with a Z or an S. But there's also a tease with a Z, which specifically means to pull apart. And it was designed, or rather it originated in when they were doing wool and they were separating the threads.
Teasing the wool.
They're teasing the wool. So it could be used either, from Jane's perspective, it could have been either with S or a Z, but if she deliberately definitely meant it with a Z, then it could mean more about the pulling apart of arguments potentially, or of thoughts, rather than of teasing somebody.
Interesting.
So I didn't actually go back to double check.
Thank you for doing research though. I don't do research, I just talk. Darcy turns back up, which is quite exciting and unexpected because Lizzie thinks he's not going to turn back up. And Bingley's like, let's go for a walk so he can get Jane alone. And they lag behind. And then Kitty was too much afraid of Darcy to talk because there's Kitty, Elizabeth and Darcy walking together. And it says Kitty was too much afraid of him to talk. Elizabeth was secretly forming a desperate resolution and perhaps he might be doing the same. And we know that he was, although maybe his might not have been as desperate because it seemed like he was a man with a plan. He came in with a plan. He knew what he was doing.
And she preempted him again.
And then Kitty runs off to see Maria Lucas. And Lizzie went boldly on with him alone. I love that word, boldly, because technically they should not be walking in the country by themselves.
I know, but the boldly is, unfortunately, I still always think boldly going where no man has gone before. Star Trek.
So she preempts him and talks about, thank you for saving my sister, etc., etc. And he says, your family owes me nothing. Much as I respect them, I believe I thought only of you. And what a contrast to his last proposal when he was disparaging her family. And here he's saying that he respects them.
It does show his change of attitude. And let's be honest, he's met the two most sensible members of the family with Mr. and Mrs. Gardiner.
It's very true. I love that he got to meet them and didn't just dismiss them because they're in trade. We don't actually get the words of the proposal. It says he expressed himself on the occasion as sensibly and as warmly as a man violently in love can be supposed to do. Because we don't often I don't know if we ever get the words of a proposal from Jane Austen.
No, because not even, I think, when I remember the persuasion. Again, it's more about the feelings and the, rather than actually, nobody goes down on the knees with the...
No, that's a very modern invention, isn't it?
Ridiculously modern, yes. I'm sure it is. A Disney invention.
A Disney invention, you reckon? And then they walk on and get themselves lost because it says without knowing in what direction. There was too much to be thought and felt and said for attention to any other objects.
Which really is exactly what it's like, isn't it, when you're in the absolute...
When you're in love.
Throes of being love. I did like the reference that she learned that they were indeed indebted to Lady Catherine for their present good understanding, but not quite in the manner to which she expected.
No, Lady Catherine thought that doing this would separate them, not bring them together. But she does like to be useful.
Oh, yes.
Isn't there some comment about that? She does like to be useful. Or maybe that was in the movie.
I think it must be in the next chapter. I really love the sentence about, I know enough of your disposition to be certain that, had you been absolutely, irrevocably decided against me, you would have acknowledged it to Lady Catherine, frankly and openly. And then with Elizabeth coloured, so she's obviously quite self-conscious about, she recognises that sometimes. And that after abusing you so abominably to your face, I could have no scruple in abusing you to all your relations. So she's fairly honest in that.
Lizzie brings up the trip to Pemberley and asks, did you blame me for coming? He's like, no, I wanted to show you that that I didn't resent the past, etc., etc. My other wishes, however, I believe in about half an hour. Introduce themselves, I can hardly tell, but I believe in about half an hour after I had seen you. Which is very sweet. He's like, no, I'm not going to try and pressure her into marrying me. But then half an hour later, he's like, no, but I still want to marry her, though.
Yes.
It's still going to happen.
Still going to happen. I think the other, further, just referring back about when they were still talking about the letter and their behaviour, and there's that classic phrase about, had you behaved in a more gentlemanlike manner,
yes,
which obviously touched it, because he'd, almost more than anything else, he'd always prided himself on being a gentleman in the true sense of the word, not just as a member of the aristocracy.
Yeah, so that really hurt his pride.
Yes.
And that was one of the things that you underlined while we were reading, that he refers to himself as having pride.
In left to follow them in pride and conceit.
Ah, yes, I was given good principles. And then Lizzie identifies herself as prejudiced. I don't know where that one is.
Never mind.
And Darcy gives his permission to Bingley to propose to Jane. And Lizzie says, you had given your permission, I guess, as such. And though he exclaimed at the term, she found that it had been pretty much the case.
And the other thing is, he'd already decided at the inn that he was going to follow. So his introspection was not because he was trying to escape from Lizzie, but trying to think about what I can do to make a difference, what he could do to make a difference.
Yeah, just when she thought that her powers over him were failing.
Yes, in fact, it was completely the opposite. And she also asked, was it about from his own observation, or did he just refer to her information from last spring?
To see whether Jane loved Bingley.
Bingley, of course, is most unaffectedly modest, and his diffidence had prevented his depending upon his own judgment in so anxious a case, which is why he tends to rely on Darcy. We forget that he's a very young man. He's still only 24, I think, in the book. And he would have been dominated by his two elder sisters.
Do we know that Caroline is older? We
She
assume
might
Mrs.
not be.
Hurst is.
Yes, Caroline may not be older, but she's certainly the far more dominant character. And to a certain extent, Bingley hasn't really found his place in the world, because he's now in that transition state of trying to move from trade into gentry. So he hasn't really got his sense of achievement of having achieved anything in trade first to fall back on. Do you know what I mean? He's just got his education and his...
And he was just given a whole bunch of money.
Yes. I wouldn't complain.
I think few would.
I do like when he explained about Jane being in London for 3 months and not telling him. He was angry, but his anger, unpersuaded, lasted no longer than he remained in any doubt of your sister's sentiments, which was probably about 30 seconds after Darcy had already convinced him that...
Isn't it nice that he's a forgiving friend?
He's a very forgiving friend. He's a loyal friend, and I think he's sometimes underrated. They're often betrayed, and even Jane does a little bit about them, because they're so nice that they'll, everybody takes advantage of them. I think that's possibly too harsh on them. I think they know what's right and wrong and things, but they just haven't the same confidence, their own value beyond I've got money or I've got looks.
Because, they're both summed down to those small parts, aren't they?
Yes. Nobody ever tells them how clever they are or how witty they are. He's always compared to Caroline, who's very sharp, and Elizabeth, of course, or Jane's definitely doesn't come up with the wit or the learning of Elizabeth, rather, get the right way round. So there is that sense of doubt, I think, about their own ability to come to good conclusions, come to their own conclusions. They're still reliant on other people.
It's so lucky they found each other.
Yes.
Because they could have both been used so awfully by somebody.
Oh, you could imagine. I mean, if Bingley had found an equivalent of Caroline,
Fortune hunter.
His life would have been miserable. And I think he's got the opportunity to gain depth with Jane. And he certainly would find much more about what being involved in living as a gentleman would be, because for all the failings, they did know how to keep house and
she's
a gentleman's daughter and be part of the community. You know, the visiting the sick and all that sort of thing, and being that presence. That
is something that we don't have in this book, though. Interestingly, that we don't see them doing charitable visits.
No, we don't, do we? Because that's Emma, isn't it?
Emma's the only one we really see doing it.
Yes.
But we just assume that the others are doing it because it's part of their duties as a gentlewoman.
And they are well known. The girls are well known and well liked.
Well, there's certainly enough of them.
Yes.
They could send them all out and do the whole village in one day. And that is our summary of chapter 58 of Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. My name is Frances Duncan. You can find me at francesduncanwrites.com and on Twitter at Frances_Duncan. Thank you for listening, and we wish you happy reading.